When medicine was guesswork, wearing confidence. Medicine is supposed to heal, but for most of human history, it wasn't science. It was desperation, superstition, and confidence backed by absolutely no evidence. Across thousands of years, people didn't just try strange treatments. They believed in them so completely that these methods spread across continents, became traditions, and in many cases lasted centuries. These weren't fringe ideas. These were mainstream medical practices, endorsed by priests, emperors, barbers, philosophers, scientists, and governments. Some were painful, some were poisonous, some were fatal. All were done with the same intention, to save lives. What makes these stories disturbing isn't just the stupidity of the treatments, but the sincerity behind them. People weren't trying to harm one another. They were trying to help, using whatever logic the world had at the time. Logic that, in hindsight, looks like chaos wearing a doctor's coat. From drilling holes into skulls to release evil spirits, to drinking radioactive water for vitality, to giving babies opium so they'd sleep better, to injecting mercury directly into the bloodstream, this file is a tour through the darkest, strangest corners of medical history. Because before medicine became science, it was performance, it was faith, it was panic, and it was incredibly, catastrophically wrong. This is the Absurdist Files, File 014, 45 Dumbest Medical Treatments in Human History People Ever Tried. A reminder that healing and harming have always been separated by a very thin line, and sometimes no line at all. Ancient and Medieval Madness. 1. Trepanation, drilling holes in the skull to release evil spirits. One of the oldest medical procedures in human history involved drilling or scraping holes into a patient's skull. Ancient societies believed headaches, seizures, and mental illness were caused by trapped spirits. Trepanation was their solution. It had no anesthesia, no sterilization, and no understanding of brain function. Shockingly, many survived, but not because it worked. They survived despite it. Trepanation remains one of humanity's earliest examples of confusing violence with treatment. 2. Drinking gladiator blood to treat epilepsy. Ancient Romans believed the blood of fallen gladiators carried their strength and vitality. Doctors recommended drinking fresh, warm blood as a cure for epilepsy. Some even consumed liver or other organs on the spot. In reality, it did nothing except spread diseases. It was medicine by mythology, fueled by spectacle and superstition. 3. Using crocodile dung as contraception. In ancient Egypt, women used crocodile dung as an early form of birth control, believing it acted as a barrier or natural spermicide. Instead, it introduced bacteria, infections, and severe health complications. Archaeologists still rank it as one of the most unhygienic medical ideas ever documented, proof that ancient fertility science was more experimental than effective. 4. Applying dead mouse paste to wounds in ancient Greece. Greek physicians sometimes crushed dead mice and mixed them with wine or oil to create paste for treating wounds. They believed the animal's earth energy would accelerate healing. In reality, it invited infection, tetanus, and sepsis. The method was so common that even Aristotle referenced it. Logic was optional. 5. Medieval prayer cures for illness. During the Middle Ages, many believed illness was divine punishment. Instead of treatment, patients were prescribed prayer, fasting, or ritual penance. Some were told to confess sins until the disease released them. This approach delayed real care, worsened outbreaks, and turned medical crises into moral panics. 6. Bloodletting, the treatment that killed millions. For nearly 2,000 years, doctors drained blood to balance the body's humors. Leeches, knives, and specialized blades were used to remove as much as several pints at a time. It weakened patients, spread infections, and often caused death. Presidents, kings, and common people all suffered from this catastrophic misunderstanding of biology. 7. Treating ear infections with urine. Various ancient cultures used urine as a sterile fluid for treating ear infections. While urine is not sterile after leaving the body, doctors believed it reset the ear's balance. Instead, it caused irritation and bacterial growth. Medical logic was, at best, improvised. 8. Medieval hot iron tongue treatment. In parts of Europe, stuttering was treated by burning the tongue lightly with a heated metal rod. Physicians believed the heat would correct lazy muscles. It caused scarring, swelling, and permanent speech damage. The cure was worse than the condition. 9. Using moldy bread as a healing poultice. Long before penicillin, people applied moldy bread to wounds believing it had magical healing powers. Some molds did kill bacteria, but most caused infections. It was half accident, half misunderstanding, and a full demonstration of humanity stumbling toward real science by mistake. 10. The 4 humors system, diagnosing diseases with personality. Ancient and medieval doctors believed illness came from imbalanced humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Treatments included vomiting, sweating, starvation, or extreme diets. This system dominated medicine for almost 1,500 years, guiding everything from surgery to psychology, despite being completely wrong. Renaissance and early science gone wrong. 11. Mercury treatments for syphilis, the poison that cleansed the body. For centuries, physicians treated syphilis by applying mercury ointments, ingesting mercury pills, or inhaling mercury vapor. Patients salivated uncontrollably, lost teeth, suffered tremors, and experienced organ failure. The treatment often killed faster than the disease. Doctors interpreted symptoms of mercury poisoning as healing reactions and prescribed even more. The phrase, "a night with Venus leads to a lifetime with Mercury," became a grim joke of the era, a reminder that the cure could be far deadlier than the cause. 12. Arsenic pills for beauty and inner purification. In the 1800s, arsenic was sold as a beauty enhancer that made skin pale and translucent. Women took pills containing small doses of the poison, believing it would lighten complexion, make eyes brighter, and even promote weight loss. Symptoms like vomiting, hair loss, and fainting were dismissed as beauty pains. Some even drank arsenic-laced tonics daily. Many died from cumulative toxicity. Arsenic beauty culture remains one of history's clearest examples of how fashion can override survival. 13. Tobacco smoke enemas for drowning victims. Doctors in Europe once used tobacco smoke enemas to revive drowning victims, believing nicotine stimulated respiration. Resuscitation kits were placed along riverbanks, complete with bellows, designed to blow smoke directly into the rectum. For decades, this was considered cutting-edge medicine. Eventually, doctors discovered nicotine actually damaged the heart and lungs. The practice died out, replaced by modern CPR. But for a surprisingly long time, blowing smoke was literal medical advice. 14. Plague doctors stuffing beak masks with herbs to filter evil air. During the Black Death, plague doctors wore bird-like masks filled with lavender, roses, or mint. They believed disease spread through miasma, or poisoned air, and scented herbs would filter it out. The mask provided no real protection, but the leather outfit sometimes reduced flea bites, accidentally giving minimal benefit. Still, millions died while doctors confidently walked around smelling like a Renaissance potpourri bag. 15. Vomiting therapy to reset the body. Early physicians believed that induced vomiting balanced the body's humors. Patients were given powerful emetics, sometimes made from poisonous plants or minerals, to purge corrupted fluids. People vomited violently for hours, leading to dehydration, electrolyte loss, and organ stress. It was commonly prescribed for fevers, headaches, indigestion, and even sadness. The treatment cured almost nothing, but caused significant harm, a tradition of confusing suffering with healing. 16. Treacle, the miracle goo that cured everything. For over 1,000 years, doctors used a thick paste called treacle, a bizarre mix of herbs, spices, wine, honey, and sometimes snake meat, as a universal cure. It was prescribed for poisoning, plague, fever, and bad luck. Some formulas required fermenting ingredients for months. Most versions did little more than taste awful. Yet treacle was so popular that entire regions cultivated poisonous snakes solely to meet demand for medical snake syrup. 17. Magical thinking, healing by touching the king. Throughout medieval Europe, the monarch's touch was believed to cure diseases, especially scrofula, tuberculosis of the lymph nodes. Crowds gathered in royal courts hoping to be touched by the king's divine healing power. Entire ceremonies were built around it. In reality, the practice spread disease more efficiently than it cured anything, but political propaganda kept it alive for centuries. 18. Cauterizing wounds with boiling oil. Renaissance surgeons believed pouring boiling oil into open wounds prevented infection. Soldiers screamed through the treatment, often passing out from pain. Many wounds became more infected or necrotic from the burns. The method persisted until surgeon Ambroise Paré accidentally ran out of oil and used a mild ointment instead, and discovered the wounds healed far better. One of medicine's worst treatments ended because of a supply shortage. 19. Astrology-based medical charts. Doctors in the 1500s often diagnosed illnesses based on star charts. They delayed surgeries depending on planetary alignment and prescribed treatments based on zodiac signs. Medical records from the era mention Mars being poorly positioned for bleeding or Venus interfering with digestion. Actual biology was secondary. When physics eventually disproved astrology, medicine slowly caught up, but not before centuries of celestial misdiagnosis. 20. The Renaissance belief that bad smells prevented disease. Physicians once believed foul odors protected against sickness because they overpowered deadly air. People carried vials of ammonia, rotten fruit, or burning feathers to sniff during outbreaks. Some stored garbage indoors for extra protection. Naturally, this worsened hygiene and increased disease spread. The logic was, if it smells horrible, it must be working. It wasn't. Industrial age and medical quackery. 21. Radium water, radioactive health tonic, sold as a miracle elixir. In the early 1900s, radium was marketed as a vitality booster. Companies sold radium-infused water, radium chocolate, radium toothpaste, and even radium butter. Wealthy elites drank bottles daily, believing it increased energy, libido, and longevity. Instead, it caused bone necrosis, anemia, and fatal radiation poisoning. The most famous victim, industrialist Eben Byers, lost his jaw before dying horribly. Newspapers summarized the tragedy. The real miracle was surviving the treatment. 22. Opium syrup marketed for babies and teething pain. Products like Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup contained morphine, alcohol, and chloroform, sold specifically to calm crying infants. Labels promised quiet nights, which was technically true. The babies were drugged unconscious. Thousands of children died from respiratory failure. The product remained popular for decades until regulation finally intervened. It remains one of the darkest examples of medical capitalism. 23. Cocaine toothache drops for children. In the late 1800s, pharmacists sold cocaine drops to relieve children's tooth pain. The advertisements featured smiling toddlers and promised instant relief. Cocaine numbed the nerves, but caused addiction, hallucinations, and dangerous overstimulation. Parents praised it as a miracle, unaware they were dosing children with hard drugs. The product was banned only after widespread harm. 24. Lobelia, the herbal remedy that caused violent vomiting. Lobelia was promoted as a cure for asthma, pneumonia, and pain. But the herb's active compounds caused violent vomiting, diarrhea, and sometimes death. Practitioners insisted the reaction meant the body was expelling evil forces. In reality, people were suffering acute poisoning. Still, lobelia clinics flourished for years before collapsing under legal pressure. 25. Electrical healing belts that shocked patients randomly. During the industrial age, companies sold electric belts that delivered constant low-level shocks to stimulate organs and cure impotence. The instructions never explained how electricity related to sexual health, because it didn't. Many belts malfunctioned, burning skin or delivering painful jolts. Some customers suffered nerve damage. The products vanished only after regulators cracked down on fraudulent medical devices. 26. Nostrum cures that promised everything and delivered poison. Patent medicines in the 1800s were unregulated and often contained alcohol, opium, ammonia, turpentine, or mercury. Advertisements claimed they cured cancer, baldness, heartbreak, and female complaints. Ingredients were never listed. Many victims died or became addicted without knowing what they were consuming. These cure-all elixirs helped inspire modern drug regulations, written in the aftermath of so much preventable harm. 27. Smoking as a doctor-approved treatment for asthma. Early 20th century advertisements featured doctors recommending cigarettes to open airways. Some brands even marketed special asthma cigarettes containing herbs, tobacco, and chemicals designed to induce coughing. Physicians genuinely believed smoke could strengthen the lungs. Instead, it worsened respiratory illness and contributed massively to early lung disease. Modern medicine still pays the price for this historic error. 28. Vibrating health chairs that shook patients back to wellness. Quack doctors designed mechanical chairs that vibrated violently, claiming they improved circulation, cured constipation, and realigned energy. Patients sat strapped in while the chair rattled their skeletons. Some suffered whiplash. Others vomited mid-session. The devices were marketed with scientific jargon, but delivered little more than violent shaking and mild trauma. 29. The blue people who drank colloidal silver. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, colloidal silver was claimed to cure infections, digestive issues, and even mental illness. Long-term users developed argyria, a condition that permanently turned skin blue. Many kept drinking silver because they believed the color change proved the treatment was working. The condition is irreversible, and the practice survives today in fringe health circles. 30. Burning patients with UV lamps to sterilize the blood. Once UV radiation was discovered, some physicians believed burning the skin with concentrated UV light could cleanse the blood and cure infections. Patients suffered burns, eye damage, and skin cancer risks. Clinics operated for years before the treatment was exposed as pseudoscience. Many victims spent their lives dealing with the consequences, ironically receiving the real sterilization, permanent DNA damage. Peak modern medical stupidity. 31. Tapeworm diet pills, swallowing parasites to lose weight. In the early 1900s, companies sold tapeworm eggs inside diet pills. The concept? Swallow a parasite, let it eat your food, and slim down effortlessly. Posters advertised, no dieting, no exercise. Customers weren't told tapeworms can grow up to 30 feet, cause seizures, malnutrition, and organ failure. Many required surgery to remove the worms. Some nearly died. The treatment was banned, but black market versions still occasionally appear. Proof that weight loss desperation never dies, it just changes shape. 32. Lobotomy, surgically destroying the brain to calm patients. From the 1930s to 1950s, lobotomies were seen as a miracle cure for mental illness. Surgeons inserted metal picks through the eye socket and swirled them to sever brain connections. Patients became docile, emotionless, or permanently disabled. Some died. The inventor won a Nobel Prize, a decision still considered one of the most controversial in award history. Lobotomy's rise and fall remains one of modern medicine's darkest lessons about confusing control with healing. 33. DIY silicone injections for instant beauty. Before cosmetic regulations tightened, people injected hardware store silicone into their bodies to enlarge lips, hips, or breasts. Many substances weren't even silicone. Some were petroleum jelly, cooking oil, or tire lubricant. Infections, deformities, and amputations were common. One infamous case involved a woman who injected concrete mix into clients. The desire for beauty collided with the absence of safety, a recurring theme in human medical history. 34. Bleach drinking therapies for illnesses. Several fringe groups promoted drinking diluted bleach, chlorine dioxide, as a cure for everything from cancer to autism. It caused vomiting, chemical burns, liver failure, and death. The FDA repeatedly issued warnings, but believers insisted the pain was a sign the toxins were leaving the body. It wasn't detox, it was poisoning. Yet the treatment still resurfaces online. 35. Radioactive health spas, offering uranium baths. Well into the 20th century, spas in Europe and the U.S. offered radiation rejuvenation, inviting customers to soak in radon-infused water or sit in uranium caves. They promised increased vitality, pain relief, and sexual energy. Many visitors later developed cancers. The spas advertised nature's healing energy. Nature disagreed violently. 36. Weight loss cigarettes marketed to women. In the 1920s, cigarette companies targeted women with slogans like, "Reach for a lucky" instead of a sweet. Doctors even endorsed smoking as appetite control. Cigarettes were sold as diet tools, glamorous, slimming, sophisticated. They delivered addiction, lung disease, and cancer. The marketing campaign is now considered one of the most harmful psychological manipulations in advertising history. 37. DIY ear candling to remove toxins. Ear candling involves inserting a lit, hollow candle into the ear to draw out wax and toxins. What it actually does is drip hot wax into the ear canal, burn skin, and sometimes perforate eardrums. Studies show the debris inside the candle is not earwax, it's melted candle residue. Still, the treatment persists at home and in spas, a reminder that pseudoscience thrives when it feels cozy. 38. Sun cures for everything from depression to tuberculosis. Early 20th century doctors believed sunlight cured infections, mental illness, and even tuberculosis. Patients were placed outside in extreme temperatures, sometimes naked, for hours or days. Some suffered heat stroke or frostbite. While sunlight has benefits, it is not a sterilizing medical cure. But for decades, hospitals built entire sunrooms dedicated to this misguided therapy. 39. Inhaling gasoline fumes for anesthesia. Before safe anesthetics were widely available, some makeshift doctors instructed patients to inhale gasoline fumes to dull pain during minor surgeries. It caused hallucinations, chemical burns, lung damage, and sometimes unconsciousness, which practitioners misinterpreted as effective sedation. The method disappeared quickly once ether and chloroform became standardized. 40. Using frog skin to treat burns. Certain 19th century healers applied frog skin, or frog slime, directly to burns, believing amphibians had natural regenerative properties. Instead, the method spread bacteria and increased infection. Frog skin bandages created more medical emergencies than they solved. The logic was simple. Frogs heal fast, so humans should borrow it. Nature, however, does not distribute abilities that way. 41. Inserting tobacco ash into teeth to cure cavities. Some early dentists, and non-dentists pretending to be dentists, filled cavities with tobacco ash or crushed charcoal to kill worms living inside teeth. Cavities do not contain worms, but the belief persisted for centuries. The ash caused erosion, infection, and tooth loss. Many suffered facial swelling and systemic illness. The cure made the problem catastrophically worse. 42. Animal bites as vaccines, letting creatures transfer immunity. In several folk traditions, people allowed themselves to be bitten or scratched by animals believed to have strong spiritual energy to gain immunity. Creatures included dogs, cats, snakes, and even bats. Instead of immunity, they often contracted rabies, tetanus, or infections. The logic? If the animal survives nature, so will I. Reality? Nature is undefeated. 43. Inserting hot irons into the nose to cure headaches. Some 19th century treatments involved heating metal rods until red hot, then inserting them briefly into the nostrils to burn out pain vapors. The procedure caused burns, scarring, and sometimes permanent damage to sinuses. Patients screamed. Doctors considered that normal. Pain was mistaken for progress, one of medical history's favorite errors. 1944. Shock machines sold as mood boosters. Electrotherapy devices were marketed for home use, promising cures for sadness, laziness, and even lack of ambition. Users strapped metal pads to their heads or limbs and shocked themselves. Many devices were unregulated and dangerous, causing burns and nerve injuries. The line between treatment and self-torture was razor thin. 45. TikTok medical hacks, the modern revival of stupidity. Even with centuries of scientific progress, modern trends still revive medical nonsense. Filing teeth with nail tools, self-stitching wounds, sunburn treatments involving mustard, and DIY Botox using chemicals bought online. Hospitalizations rise every year due to these viral experiments. Despite unlimited access to medical knowledge, people still choose chaos. Technology didn't eliminate stupidity, it gave it Wi-Fi. When healing became hazardous by design. Across these 45 medical misfires, one truth becomes painfully clear. Humanity has always been far more confident than correct. In ancient and medieval eras, treatments weren't based on biology, they were based on fear, myth, and improvisation. People drilled holes into skulls to release imaginary spirits, rubbed dead mice onto wounds, burned tongues to fix stutters, and poured boiling oil into injuries believing pain equaled progress. Medicine wasn't science, it was ritual. Then came the Renaissance and early science, an era that should have been more rational, but often wasn't. Mercury was prescribed as medicine, arsenic as skincare, tobacco smoke as resuscitation, and plague doctors wandered cities wearing leather bird masks stuffed with flowers. They treated disease by attacking the senses, not the cause. The industrial age transformed medical stupidity into an industry. Cocaine for kids, opium for babies, silver that turned people blue, radium consumed like vitamin water, electric belts, vibrating chairs, miracle syrups, and tonics that promised everything while quietly killing everyone. It wasn't medicine, it was marketing. And in the modern era, stupidity didn't disappear, it just rebranded. People swallowed bleach, injected hardware store silicone, inhaled gasoline for anesthesia, used frogs as bandages, lit candles in their ears, swallowed parasites to lose weight, and followed TikTok advice that sent them straight to emergency rooms. Across every century, one theme repeats. People will try anything if they're scared enough, desperate enough, or convinced it's natural enough. And the strangest part? Most of these treatments weren't created by villains, but by people who genuinely believed they were helping. When good intentions became the most dangerous medicine. If this file has revealed anything, it's that humanity didn't just fail at medicine, it failed with absolute confidence. Century after century, people faced disease with the same determination, to heal, to survive, to push back against the unknown. But without real knowledge, healing became an experiment, and humanity became the test subject. What makes these 45 treatments haunting isn't that they were cruel, it's that they were sincere. Every doctor who prescribed mercury believed it purified the body. Every parent who gave opium to a crying infant believed it soothed them. Every patient who swallowed tapeworm eggs believed they were taking control of their health. Every person who drank radioactive water believed they were strengthening their bones. Every plague doctor believed scented herbs could block death. Every TikTok user believed the algorithm knew more than science ever could. Medical stupidity didn't thrive because people were foolish. It thrived because people were terrified. Fear of pain, fear of disease, fear of death, fear of the unknown. And in that fear, anything that promised hope, no matter how irrational, dangerous, or fatal, became medicine. Looking back, the line between healing and harming feels absurdly thin. Treatments that sound like torture devices were once celebrated as breakthroughs. Poisons were sold as beauty products. Narcotics were marketed as baby medicine. Electrocution was branded as vitality. Radiation was advertised as eternal energy. And bleeding patients nearly to death was considered good practice. But the real tragedy isn't the methods themselves, it's how long they lasted. Some of the deadliest medical ideas survived for centuries, protected not by results, but by tradition, authority, and habit. People trusted the system, even when the system was wrong. They trusted the healer, even when the healer had no tools. They trusted the treatment, even when it made them worse. And perhaps that's the deepest lesson in this entire file. Human beings don't need accurate information to act. They only need belief. And belief, when left unchecked, can be more dangerous than any disease. This has been the Absurdist Files. 45 dumbest medical treatments in human history people ever tried. A tour through the moments where medicine forgot science, where logic collapsed under fear, and where the desire to heal became the cause of even greater harm. As we move forward, modern, informed, technologically empowered, it's worth remembering that stupidity is not a relic of the past. It evolves, it adapts, it goes viral, and sometimes it still wears a lab coat.